Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. The topic for today's discussion shall be Sudraka's Mrichchhakatika as a Prakaran. We have read about Dasarupakas, and among the Dasarupakas, one form, according to Bharata Muni in Natya Shastra, is that of Prakaran. So, Mrichchhakatika belongs to the division of dramatic composition, technically known as Prakaran. Prakaran is defined in Bharata Muni's Natya Shastra. Atha prakarane vritta mrityapanch loka sanskriyama amatya vi pravanizamik vyarcha nayakam dhira prashanta sayapa dharma kamantram param शेष नाटक वत्सधि प्रवेशकाराधिकम नायिका तो दिव्यानेतु कुलश्री गणिका तथा कव्य चिंद कव्य कुजलावस्य व्यापी दंगम वंचित. So in short, the Sanskrit sloka that has been used to define Prakaran in Natya Shastra takes into account various features of this form of drama called Prakaran. Sudraka's Mrichchhakatika is perhaps the most famous Prakaran ever written or ever extant available to us for our reading. So in the sloka that I have just read, Prakarana has been defined having a plot or the Vastu. This plot or the Vastu, according to Bharata Muni Natya Shastra, should be neither legendary nor historical. The plot of a Prakaran, like Mrichchhakatika, is of the poet's own invention. In the second couplet, the sloka says that the hero should be a minister, especially a person of high noble birth belonging to Brahmana caste, or a merchant, or a type of character known as Dhira Shanta, means a person who is calm and self-controlled. This type of hero, who is placed at the center of the play, Prakaran, will be undergoing some kind of misfortune, and with virtue, pleasure and wealth as its chief objects. So this hero or the Nita, Dhira Shanta type, is placed at the center of the play. The heroine, on the other hand, should be either a high-born lady or a courtesan. And it is also permissible in some of the Prakaran to introduce both these types of heroines in the same play. So, but in Prakaran, these two types of heroines usually should never be shown as coming together on the stage. That means meeting on the stage together. In Mrichchhakatika, however, we find the presence of both Dhuta and Vasantasena for a short while. But usually they are not face to face in any kind of discussion in a traditional Prakaran. A Prakaran is also called Shuddha. Shuddha, if it has the first kind of heroine. If the heroine of the play is a high-born lady, virtuous, wifely woman, usually it is called a Shuddha type of Prakaran. And if the heroine is of the second type, that means Vikrit type. In Sanskrit, Vikrit type means a person who is related to some professions other than the traditional professions assigned to women during that society, during that period. So, a heroine in Mrichchhakatika, Vasantasena, is a courtesan. So, if that heroine is present in a Prakaran, it will be called a Prakaran of Vikrit type. Okay, different type. So, the courtesan or any kind of play where we have the presence of both the virtuous heroine and the courtesan heroine, so the play will become Sankeen. Okay, a variety that is abounding in the presence of rows, characters drawn from different aspects of society, along with the presence of two types of heroines. So we have so many features identified by Natya Shastra. One among these is the use of sandhis, okay, interludes, the dominant rasas. The dominant rasa of Sudraka's Mrichchhakatika is of course the Sringar Rasa, but this Sringar Rasa is also combined with another dominant rasa, that is Hasty Rasa. This Hasty Rasa is also counterbalanced with another type of rasa called the Karuna Rasa. So we have the combination of these three types of rasas. The presence of the subplot or the secondary plot that is related to the rise of Arakya as the new king of the land is also related to the heroic rasa or the Veera Rasa. Thus we can say that dramas that are written as Prakaran, mainly the plays of Bhasa, Sudraka and Kalidasa, and the plays that went on for production composed in the period. I have identified the period from say 2nd century BC to 6th century AD, when the rules of the Sanskrit dramaturgy were gradually evolving. We have several types of experiment with these forms. So Dasarupaka is a kind of descriptive term that is applied to a type of drama that is innovative. The plot story, the Vastu, is poet's own invention. So we have so many variations within the Prakaran form, as for example, Sudraka's Mrichchhakatika is a Prakaran with a difference. So we have so many rhetorical treatises or works during that period on the plays or dramaturgy. Abhinav Gupta's also work on dramaturgy. So there is also work on Abhinaya Darpan. All these combined together to define what the Prakaran is. Sudraka, it appears, has not followed the rule very strictly. Okay, he has not followed the rule of Bharata Muni's Natya Shastra, and he lays down his own rule through this essentially theatrical practice. So we might say that whatever rules are laid down in Bharata Muni's Natya Shastra, these rules are not strictly followed, especially the presence of two heroines together, making this a kind of different types of Vikrit type of Prakaran. So in this play, we have the presence of even the minor character, okay, a child character, Rohasena. And we also have the interplay of the tragic and the comic together in the play. There are some variations from the traditional Prakaran. In a scene, we find Charudatta's son, Rohasena, is crying because he was given a clay toy, clay cart, Mrichchhakatika, to play with, and he wanted one of gold. So Vasantasena comes in and gives him her ornament. Okay, starts the clay cart with ornament so that Rohasena can have his own golden cart. So that is there in this plot. And such innovations, inventive plot, is a hallmark of Prakaran. Since those very ornaments afterwards we'll see that will serve in the final act, and it will be presented as a proof, as an evidence of Charudatta's supposed crime. You remember Charudatta has been accused of killing Vasantasena by Sakara. Sakara has accused Charudatta of stealing the jewelry of Vasantasena. And when Maitri comes and the jewelry is found in the custody of Maitri, Charudatta is accused and then sentenced to death. So this relationship between that clay cart, jewelry started in the clay cart, and the final punishment of Charudatta, this interrelationship can be perceived as poet's choice. Okay, so poet has given Mrichchhakatika as the title of the play. The story is totally innovative story, a new story, although the play is based, as I discussed earlier, on Bhasa's play Charudatta. But the subject matter is not epical, not legendary, does not belong to the epical narratives, not a part of myth, or even the part of ancient history. It is rather a picture of contemporary society where an innovative plot has been formed or framed to the minute observation of the poet. So we have in this play a title, Mrichchhakatika. It is an appropriate title and it serves the dramatic purpose, arouses curiosity of the audience as to the subject matter of the play. So if you try to identify the subject matter of the play, we can easily say that it is somehow related to the clay cart and it is juxtaposed with jewelry. So gold and clay, these are contrasted together and it is the world of the clay that is valorized, glorified. This is the world which Charudatta has accepted, abjuring, rejecting gold. Vasantasena too sacrifices her gold in order to get the clay, in order to get the elemental love and passion that is pure. Again, we can see that in this type of Dasarupaka, it is stated that hero should appear in every act. So this Dasarupaka, Mrichchhakatika, is a 10-act play. So we find that Sudraka is making some changes by not allowing Charudatta to appear in all the acts. So Charudatta does not appear in 4 acts out of 10 in the play Mrichchhakatika. So we can, as students of Sudraka's Mrichchhakatika, clearly identify such glaring differences and we can cross-check whether in other Prakaran such differences are there or not. The rules such as these were made later on. We can say that perhaps this Prakaran was regarded as a seminal text of Prakaran and later interpolators of Bharatamuni's Natya Shastra may have included Prakaran as a type, taking into note such variations. First variation I said regarding the presence of 2 heroines, one of Shuddha type, one of Vikrit type, a courtesan heroine along with a virtuous heroine, the wife Dhuta. Vasantasena. So co-presence and innovations. So these are perhaps interpolations and the definition of Prakaran might have come later on. The majority of the works that were available during that period perhaps contained 10 acts containing the hero in all the acts. So we should not regard such definitions of Dasarupakas as strict and prescriptive. Okay, these are more flexible and are descriptive in nature rather than prescriptive. We can also see in Mrichchhakatika, there are some broad outlines and these broad outlines of the play conform to the definition that I have quoted at the beginning of my lecture. First, the plot of a Prakaran is fictitious. By fictitious, I mean a plot that is poet's invention. That means the poet has the flexibility to use his creativity or creative imagination to create a plot, to write a story. Instead of following the story that is already there, popular, as in Kalidasa's Abhigyanam Shakuntalam, a story that is drawn from the Mahabharata, the story of Dushyanta and Shakuntala. So here in Prakaran, the poet has his own independence to use his creative imagination to construct a plot and around that plot to weave a story, dramatize a story. So these rules were made later on and we see that broad outlines are simply followed in this text. The plot is fictitious. The hero, of course, is a noble personage. belongs to the Brahmin caste, is presented as a person who is dignified, very calm. Once upon a time, he was a wealthy man, a rich man, a merchant, has now fallen in adverse circumstances. And now he is engaged in the pursuit of dharma. Now, this pursuit of dharma is also related to artha. This pursuit of artha is also related to kama. But these are to be in due proportion. In case of the Nita or the Nayak of a Prakaran, so he should be an ideal form of a hero. So Charudatta follows this trait, and like the traditional hero of a Prakaran, he is also in pursuit of dharma, artha, kama, means righteousness, money, and the work of society, both karma and kama. So Dhuta, being a wife, the Kulashatra type, okay, Stri, the homely wife, and the other heroine, Vasantasena, is a Ganika, a courtesan. So there appears to be a glaring discrepancy when these two not only meet on the stage, but also exchange greetings. So in that definition, we have seen that these two types of heroines should not be allowed to come on the stage together. But here in Mrichchhakatika, we have the Pati and Patni along with Vasantasena as the third person, the other. And we also find the wife and the courtesan coming together on the stage, even exchanging greetings. Towards the end of the play, Vasantasena is even pardoned and accommodated in this family. So for this is expressively prohibited. Okay, in the definition, in the original definition, we find that these two types of Naika, one who is pure Shuddha Naika, the other who is a kind of woman related to professions like prostitution or court performances, Ganika, these should not be brought together. But such prohibitions are not followed by Sudraka in Mrichchhakatika. The fault lies not only with Sudraka, because this scene that we find, where we find Dhuta and Vasantasena coming together, so is one of the best work, and this anxiety has remained. It might be an interpolation, okay, later on writers might have interpolated the scene and brought Dhuta and Vasantasena together on the stage, committing a serious breach in the tradition of Prakaran. But this also gives a good dramatic effect. Bringing both the heroines together on the stage provides a kind of dramatic spell charm on the audience, generates more suspense, and we find that in this play also we have conflict. As Bernard Shaw said, no conflict, no drama. So this play is also based on such conflict. So the presence of two heroines together on the stage, the courtesan heroine and the wife on the stage, might produce some kind of suspense and conflict. Because of this, perhaps Sudraka has introduced these two heroines together, deviating from the norm of Prakaran. In Mrichchhakatika, we find that the variety that is used is that of Sankirna variety. Okay, Sankirna variety, a form that abounds in rows. Okay, it is a different type of play, different type of Prakaran, the third type of Prakaran, that is called the Sankirna Prakaran, which will be involving the presence of characters drawn from common society, characters who are engaged in acts like thievery, acts like gambling, drinking, stealing, even killing. So these roles are allowed to perform in the play. So we find the presence of gamblers, 3 gamblers are there in Act 2. Even Sarvilaka in the play is a burglar, is a thief. Even in the opening scene of the play, we find that there is a game of chase where Sakara, Cheta, they are chasing Vasantasena. Now I come to the Vastu of Prakaran. Vastu refers to the plot, the substance of traditional Prakaran. So here the Vastu, according to Bharata Muni's Natya Shastra, is of two types, is of twofold. Okay. First, the principal Vastu, principal plot, the Mukhya plot. So in this play, the central plot or the main plot revolves around the love of Charudatta and Vasantasena. Second, there is the presence of the secondary, okay, Prasangik plot, Prasangik Vastu, the secondary plot. So in this secondary plot, we have the dethronement of King Palaka of Ujjaini and the accession of Arakya as the new king of the land, accession of Arakya to the throne of Ujjaini. So this is the Vastu. Even in the plays of Shakespeare, William Shakespeare, we have the presence of main plot and subsidiary plot or plots. The interlinking of the main plot and the subsidiary plot, the principal and the secondary plot, makes the play more interesting, generates more suspense in the mind of the audience. So we have in Sudraka's Mrichchhakatika the presence of the principal and the secondary plot. Principal, that means the Mukhya plot, Mukhya Vastu, and the secondary means the Prasangik Vastu, together, interrelated to each other. Next, we have the use of predominant rasa. In case of Prakaran, the most dominant rasa is Shringar Rasa. Shringar Rasa is related to the bhava called Rati. So we have the dominance of love in this work, and we have heroines elaborately dressed, especially Vasantasena, engaged in Shringar Rasa. This is, as I said earlier, is assisted by the occasional introduction of the Karuna Rasa, the rasa that is related to pathos. Suffering is the bhava. So because of enormous suffering, we have the projection of Karuna Rasa, especially in Act 10 of the play, when the father is being separated from the son, is being taken for the death sentence to be executed. Okay, so we have this dominance of Karuna Rasa. Even Dhuta is in a state that displays Karuna Rasa. We also have Karuna Rasa when Vasantasena is being killed. We have this Karuna Rasa when the lovers are separated, Vasantasena and Charudatta separated. So this is again a dominant rasa that is related to the most prominent rasa called Shringar Rasa. The third rasa that is also there, very prominent in Mrichchhakatika, is the Hasty Rasa. The Hasty Rasa has the bhava of happiness. Underlying bhava is the bhava, the Sthai bhava is the bhava of happiness. So Hasty Rasa is seen in the witty conversations, the language that Maitri or the Vidushaka uses. Even the dialogues of Sakara, we are much interested in the dialogues of Sakara, the behavior of Sakara. He appears to be a stupid person, does not know epic or the stories, classical stories, and quotes some stories in inappropriate places with inappropriate characters, generating much of suspense in the play. So Hasya Rasa dominates in the play, along with two main rasas. One is Shringar Rasa, the other is the rasa related to Karuna. We also have in this play, especially in Act 8 of the play, the presence of Bibhatsya Rasa. Bibhatsya Rasa. So that Bibhatsya Rasa can be seen in the strangulation of Vasantasena on the stage by Sakara. So this is usually avoided in Sanskrit play, in Sanskrit dramaturgy. So any kind of death should not be enacted on the stage. Even Aristotle stated this. In classical drama, we have the enactment of death off stage. So no death is shown on the stage. You remember Oedipus blinds himself, but the blinding of Oedipus is not shown. He goes into the inner chamber, takes the pin of Jocasta, who has committed suicide and then blinds himself. After blinding himself, he comes out on the stage and then moves out for an exile. So that Goric scene of murder, scene of bloodshed is usually avoided in Sanskrit drama also. Sanskrit drama will never have that display of horror on the stage. But that Bibhasa Rasa is also present in this Prakaran, a Prakaran with a difference by Sudraka called Mrichchhakatika. So we have the use of Bibhasa Rasa in Act 8 when the strangulation of Vasantasena takes place. The play has different formal elements that are essential for a Prakaran. So while we were reading the play from Act 1 to Act 10, we have seen that the play follows the tradition that is suggested of Prakaran. This type of play will usually begin with a Nandi, okay, benediction to Lord Shiva, Lord Shiva, the patron god of theatre. Offerings are made to Lord Shiva. In the same way, in the classical Greek drama, offerings are made to god Dionysus. So here we have benediction to Lord Shiva through the Nandi. This benediction is followed by Prastavana. Prastavana means the proposition or the prologue, where we have the presence of Sutradhara on the stage. And Sutradhara introduces Sudraka, the author of the drama. And then he describes the playwright, draws on the qualities of the playwrights, then in very few words describes what is going to happen. So the play, plot, he also introduces one by one the characters. So we have 10 acts that follow the introduction given by Sudraka. We are brought into the thick of the action. So 10 acts of the drama follow in succession without any kind of intervening scenes, and the audience is totally absorbed by this play. So there is, at the end, when the play ends, there is the usual Bharata Kavya, Bharata Vakya. Bharata Vakya means a valedictory stanza that is sung in honor of Bharata Muni, the creator of Natya Shastra. So this is called the usual Bharata Vakya. A few words on Bharata Muni, Natya Shastra, creator. So these can be regarded as a vote of thanks, a kind of epilogue that we find in classical drama. So it is neither necessary nor possible to see or to point out that various angas or the subdivisions that are there in the plot, how they are linked together. So we can observe that there are different sandhis or different sections of the play. So we can structure the entire 10 act of the play, Mrichchhakatika, into 5 sandhis. Sandhis means demarcation, okay, part of the plot. Usually in classical Greek drama, we have 5 part structure. In each part, there is a stasimon, a chorus song, and an episode, action scene. So at the beginning, there is a prologue. The prologue is sung by the chorus with strophe and antistrophe. After that, we have the first stasimon, first episode, second stasimon, second episode, third stasimon, third episode, fourth stasimon, fourth episode, fifth stasimon, fifth episode, and then finally we have the epilogue in case of tragedy, komos in case of comedy. Similarly, here also we have in classical Sanskrit drama 5 sandhis, 5 sections, corresponding of course to the classical Greek drama, that is separated into 5 stasimon episode sections. So we have the main, the Mukha Sandhi. Okay, number 1 is the Mukha Sandhi. This Mukha Sandhi is a combination of the bij and arambh. Okay, the seed and the beginning. So the Mukha Sandhi, the main sandhi, the main part, the introductory part is a combination of the seed, the bij, and the arambh. Arambh means the beginning. And this extends up to the first act, means the entire first act contains this. So first act can be divided into 3 parts basically. First, it begins with a benediction, valorizing, honoring God or Lord Shiva. The second part, where we have the presence of the Sutradhar, introducing the playwright, the theme, the characters. In the third, we have the enactment of the first episode. So together it is a Mukha Sandhi. Mukha Sandhi combining the seed that will germinate and the beginning that will commence or sprout. So this will be contained in the first act. The seed or the beej is contained in the meeting of Charudatta and Vasantasena in the Cupid shrine, which is twice or thrice referred in the play. And the Arambh, the beginning, is indicated when Vasantasena takes refuge in the house of Charudatta when she is pursued by Sakara. So this is the first part of the play, Act 1. In the second part, we have the Pratimukha Sandhi. The Pratimukha Sandhi that indicates the further sprouting up of the seed, a further germination of the seed, the sprouting of the seed by some new incidents which maintain the continuity of the action. So this can correspond to Aristotle's concept of the middle of the play. Aristotle defined plot as a soul of drama, having a structure, a beginning, a middle, and an end. So we have here the presence of the second part of the play. Okay, the second part contains the Pratimukha Sandhi, contains the sprouting up of the seed by new incidents, and we find a continuity of the action that has happened in Act 1. So here we have the receipts by Vasantasena. We have Charudatta's cloak through Karnapuraka, and later the story of the jewel necklace through Vidushaka. So this extends up to Act 4 of the play. So Act 2, Act 3, Act 4 can be stated as the second part, can be regarded as the middle of the play, the Pratimukha Sandhi of the play, where we have the development of the action arising out of the beginning, and this continues up to Act 4. Third part of the play is the Garbha Sandhi. Garbha Sandhi is most important component of a Prakaran. So it is the womb, the core of the play, the Garbha Sandhi. Okay, the central core of the play. So this happens in Act 5 of the play. We have seen the importance of Act 5 because everything is contained in this act, a very important act. And that contains the seed that has grown full and now is blooming with flowers and fruits. After that, we will have change, and we will come to the fourth part of the play. The fourth part of the play, where we have the Avamarsh Sandhi. Okay, Avamarsh Sandhi, just before the end. Avamarsh Sandhi that continues from Act 6. It continues up to Act 9. So Acts 6, 7, 8, 9 is the second part of the middle. Say in cinema hall, when we see movie, we have an intermission. So anything that happens after this intermission can be compared to Avamarsh Sandhi. Okay, so after the interval. So again, the middle is extended, and this middle contains the main core of the story. In case of Mrichchhakatika, this Avamarsh Sandhi covers the next 4 acts. Act number 5, Act number 6, Act number 7, Act number 8, Act number 9. And finally, the last act of the play. This part, the fifth part of the play, is called Nirvahang Sandhi. I repeat, Nirvahang Sandhi. Nirvahang Sandhi means the end, the conclusion, the inference, where all events converge to the desired goal, forming the subject matter of the play. So this happens in Act 10, as we find Charudatta being led for execution, meeting his son. The wife comes, and then Sakara also comes. So there is some kind of twist and turns in the story. And finally, just when Charudatta is to be executed, by the Chandalas. We have the presence of Vasantasena. In the meantime, what has happened? King Arakya has overthrown King Palaka and become the new king of the land. So all the threads of the Vastu, the primary and the secondary plot, they are brought together, and then we have the, the culmination, the denouement, the falling action, the conclusion after the climax. So this Act 10 of Mrichchhakatika forms the Nirvahang Sandhi, where all events converge to the desired goal, forming the core of the subject matter and bringing the action to a definite conclusion. So we have here in this concluding section the union of the hero and the heroine, which takes place at the end of Act. Okay, so the hero and heroine reunion takes place again. So this real reunion, okay, after a long separation, also leads to a permanent reunion, and the story will be ending happily because Vasantasena is reconciled not only with Charudatta but also Dhuta gives some space to Vasantasena to get reconciled within the family structure. So she is also accommodated. So this is a kind of permanent solution to the problem that the play generated. So the love of Charudatta and Vasantasena is consummated towards the end of the play, and we have a happy ending. A Sanskrit play usually has this happy ending. So the consummation is brought about in the final act only. So we have thus a kind of play that can be safely regarded as a Prakaran, a form of drama that was very popular during that period. Thank you very much for listening to this discussion on Prakaran. If you have any questions, you can ask now.